What hidden truths did the offspring of Nazi leaders conceal as they matured? In what ways did their lives bear the imprint of their family's history? This video will explore their experiences and unveil some unexpected realities regarding the consequences of World War II. Göring Himmler, born on August 8, 1929, was the sole child of Heinrich Himmler. In spite of the infamous legacy linked to her father, a principal architect of the Holocaust, she remained a devoted supporter of him until her passing in 2018. Heinrich Himmler held a particular affection for his daughter, ensuring she was transported to his Berlin offices from her home in Munich, where she resided with her mother. He kept in close touch with her, making daily phone calls when she was at home and sending weekly letters. Heinrich lovingly called her by her childhood nickname, Puppy. She also accompanied him at various official events. She challenged the commonly held belief that her father took his own life by ingesting a concealed cyanide capsule, asserting instead that he was murdered. After World War II, both she and her mother were captured by American forces and held in a series of camps located in Italy, France, and Germany. They were called to Nuremberg to testify at the trials and were eventually released in November 1946. Throughout her life, Göring worked tirelessly to uphold her father's reputation and memory. She became a key figure in the Stille Hilfe, Silent Aid, a clandestine organization that provided assistance to arrested, condemned, or fugitive former SS members. Her participation in this organization underscored her steadfast loyalty to her father's legacy. Martin Bormann Jr. Martin Bormann Jr., the firstborn of Nazi Party official Martin Bormann, has navigated a life overshadowed by the significant legacy of his father's notorious reputation. Born on April 14, 1930, he was merely a child during the peak of his father's influence and the horrors of World War II. Growing up in the shadow of his father's prominent role within Hitler's inner circle, Bormann Jr.'s upbringing was anything but typical. Nevertheless, the young Bormann was shielded from the brutal realities of the Nazi regime. Following the war, he was faced with the dreadful actions associated with his father, a realization that propelled him on a path of regret and atonement. Separating himself from his father's beliefs, Bormann Jr. embraced Catholicism and dedicated his life to the church. He even engaged in missionary work in the Congo and Cameroon, striving to rectify his father's wrongdoings. However, in 2011, Bormann found himself embroiled in abuse allegations. A former student accused him of having abused him at the age of 12 in the early 1960s. Additional claims of severe physical violence against other students also emerged. At the time these allegations came to light, Bormann was suffering from dementia, which left him either unwilling or unable to respond to the claims. Although these allegations did not result in any legal proceedings, the independent Klasnik Commission, established to investigate abuses within the Catholic Church in Austria, awarded compensation to the accuser. Nicholas Frank, the son of notorious Nazi war criminal Hans Frank, has devoted a considerable part of his life to grappling with his father's grim legacy. Born in 1939, Frank was too young to grasp the atrocities perpetrated during the Holocaust. However, his adult life has been predominantly focused on a quest to comprehend and publicly condemn his father's actions. Hans Frank, infamously referred to as the Butcher of Poland, was Hitler's personal attorney and subsequently held the position of Governor General of occupied Poland. Despite his father's horrific actions, Nicholas Frank has chosen an unusual path, directly confronting his lineage. He has authored several books, including In the Shadow of the Reich, which outline his attempts to understand his father's actions and their effects on his existence. Frank's dedication to informing others about the Holocaust and its enduring consequences on the families of those involved, both perpetrators and victims, is admirable. His open public dialogues provide a distinctive viewpoint on Holocaust remembrance and act as a powerful reminder of the horrors that can arise from unchecked hatred and prejudice. Etta Göring was the sole offspring of Hermann Göring and his second spouse, actress Emmy Sonnemann. As the daughter of one of Hitler's closest associates, Etta was born just prior to the outbreak of World War II, and her formative years were largely spent with her mother at Hall, the Göring family estate. Etta's early life was characterized by the opulence and privilege associated with her father's influential role in Hitler's Germany. She was frequently photographed at public gatherings, serving as a representation of the Nazi regime's efforts to convey an image of a wholesome family life. Throughout her childhood, she received numerous significant art pieces, including a Madonna and child painting by Lucas Cranach the Elder. As the war approached its conclusion, she and her mother moved to their mountain residence at Obersalzberg near Berchtesgaden. The conclusion of the Second World War marked a dramatic change in fortune for the Göring family. Hermann Göring was condemned to death at the Nuremberg trials for war crimes. Although he evaded execution by taking his own life, his actions left Edda with a stained legacy that she endeavored to reconcile for the remainder of her life. Edda Göring sought to lead a life away from the limelight. She seldom mentioned her father publicly, yet she asserted in private discussions that he was a good man. Throughout the 1950s and 1960s, many of the precious gifts she had received during her youth, including the Madonna and child artwork, became entangled in protracted legal battles, most of which she lost in 1968. While the offspring of other prominent Nazis, such as Gudrun Himmler and Albert Speer Jr., frequently spoke about their father's roles, Göring notably abstained from such public discussions. Nevertheless, during a television interview in Sweden in 1986, she broke her silence to convey her profound affection for both of her parents. She passed away in 2018, leaving behind a life indelibly marked by the actions of her infamous father. Rolf Mengele, the son of the notorious Nazi doctor Josef Mengele, has spent much of his life overshadowed by his father's dreadful legacy. Born on March 16, 1944, Rolf was raised far from the horrific concentration camps where his father conducted his infamous experiments. Rolf's early years were largely enveloped in mystery and falsehoods. He was led to believe that his father was a war hero and only discovered the chilling reality as a young teenager. Despite the weight of his name, Rolf endeavored to lead a normal existence, pursuing a law degree and working as a corporate lawyer. After the war, Josef Mengele fled to South America. This relocation necessitated that Mengele leave his son, Rolf, behind. This absence from his son's life rendered Rolf a subject of interest, particularly for Nazi hunters who suspected he maintained contact with his father. To some degree, they were correct. Mengele did write several letters to his son, igniting Rolf's curiosity and prompting him to embark on a journey to South America in 1977 to meet his father. Reflecting on his journey, Rolf recognized that his father exhibited no remorse for his atrocious actions in Auschwitz, even attempting to justify them. Despite his deep-seated hatred for his father and all that he stood for, Rolf found himself unable to betray him. He remained silent regarding Mengele's hideout in South America, allowing the infamous Angel of Death to evade accountability for his many crimes. Following their meeting, Rolf resolved to change his identity and cut ties with his past. It is believed that he is now a family man and a retired lawyer living a peaceful life in Germany. Wolf Hess was the son of Rudolf Hess, a significant figure in Nazi Germany and a member of the Nazi Party. He served as deputy Führer to Adolf Hitler from 1933 until 1941, when he undertook a solo journey to Scotland in an effort to negotiate peace with Britain. Hess was captured and later tried in Nuremberg after the war ended. Although he escaped execution, Hess was sentenced to spend the remainder of his life in solitary confinement at Spandau Prison until he took his own life on August 17, 1987, at the age of 93. Instead of distancing himself from his father's legacy, Wolf Hess devoted his life to defending him. Wolf was a fervent supporter of his father, spending many years trying to reshape the public's view of him. He worked tirelessly to demonstrate that his father was not a war criminal, but merely a man fulfilling his responsibilities during the 1930s and early 1940s, thereby exonerating him of any wrongdoing. In his teenage years, while his father was imprisoned following his ill-fated trip to Scotland, Wolf frequently visited him. However, his efforts went far beyond these visits. In the 1950s, Wolf founded the Committee to Free Rudolf Hess, gathering several 100,000 supporters, including notable figures in German politics. He wrote several books promoting the idea of recognizing Hess as a German hero instead of a criminal. After Hess's death in prison, Wolf argued that his passing was due to foul play by his British captors. Wolf dedicated his entire life to defending his father's Nazi connections and died in 2001. Albert Speer Jr. was born on July 29, 1934, in Berlin, just days prior to Hitler's rise to the position of Führer. Albert Jr. spent his childhood in Berchtesgaden, a village in the Alps where Hitler had a retreat. There are films from the 1930s showing a young Albert playing on the porch of Hitler's villa under the dictator's watchful eye. Albert Speer Sr. served as Hitler's chief architect and Germany's armaments minister. Speer Sr. applied his organizational abilities to maintain weapons production, which heavily relied on forced labor, effectively prolonging the war. After being convicted in the Nuremberg trials and receiving a 20-year prison sentence, he became one of the few high-ranking Nazis to express remorse for the regime's atrocities. Following his father's imprisonment for war crimes, the Speer family sought refuge with Albert Jr.'s grandparents in Heidelberg. During this time, Albert Jr. developed a significant stutter, which he ultimately managed to overcome. He initially trained as a carpenter before redirecting his focus to architecture. Albert Jr. was firm in his belief that his choice to pursue architecture was not influenced by his father. In a 2010 interview with Süddeutsche Zeitung, he chose not to discuss his father, who died in 1981. "I have tried my whole life to separate myself from my father, to distance myself," he stated. Albert Jr. passed away at his residence in Frankfurt on September 15th. He was 83 years of age. Well, that concludes it. We trust you found our video enjoyable. Kindly share your thoughts in the comments section below, and remember to like today's video. Subscribe to the channel as a tribute to the deities of the algorithm. We look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thank you for watching.